All right, it's a beautiful time on television, and many thanks for joining us on this program, African Discourse on Independent Television. My name is Evans Onokogie. Well, it's been 7 days ago that the Pope of the Catholic Church, talking about the head of the Catholic Church, died, Pope Francis. And of course, it was something that, drew attention to the Vatican City. And just about a few hours after he witnessed a part of the Easter celebration. And as a matter of fact, a few hours later, he died. Lots of persons, actually made some explanations, and tongues will never stop wagging. There were also some suspicions that maybe he timed his death, but little wonder whether you can actually time or program your death. That's just, the way it was. So we still express our condolence to all Catholic faithfuls worldwide. And of course, we pray that God Almighty will take his soul into his bosom. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're going to be discussing about that today on the program African Discourse. On this program, we'll talk about things that will interest the African continent and things that will also interest you there as an African. Well, by records, the last time that we had an African as a pope of the Catholic Church was 1,500 years ago. So we're going to be talking along that line today, whether an African can be the next pope, because as it stands now, we understand that lots of permutations and lots of guests here and there going on. Some say that Africa as a continent stands the opportunity and of course stands the chance for an African to emerge as the next pope, bearing in mind that Africa as a continent has about 20% of the entire Catholics in the whole world. So for people making, fronts for Africa, for a pope to emerge from Africa, what they are saying is that in the black world, Africa seems to be one continent that has a very huge amount of Catholics in the whole world. So we do not know, I do not know whether the pope emerges as a result of the continent he comes from. I mean, whether the continent, being that the continent has a large number of Catholics, that's where, and that's why the Pope emerges from such a continent, I don't know. But what I know is that after all the series of the burials here and there, we understand that in the Vatican City, we've got, people known as the Vaticans now. People are there. Their responsibility is to elect or select now the next Pope. So we're going to be talking along that line today as we go on the program African Discourse. And to discuss this today, we are so privileged to have one guy that during the Lent season, the time before the Easter celebration, Christians, Catholics went through about 45 days of the Lent period. Now, Comrade Jude Imagwe, he developed a series of prayers, Lent prayers, and of course, I was one of the benefactor of those prayers. Now, those prayers, I must say thank you to him. When he appears, I'm going to personally tell him thank you. I must say thank you to him because those prayers, I went through them daily, and they had a way of trying to develop me more spiritually. And of course, that was also the same thing with every person that read those Lent prayers during the Lent season. Please join me to welcome this afternoon a foremost development policy expert and of course a one-time senior special assistant to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and of course a one-time president of National Association of Student Affairs and NANS in the country, Comrade Jude Imagwe. Comrade Jude Imagwe, a very good afternoon to you. Nice to have you on this program.
Good afternoon, Evans, and thank you for having me.
Okay, so, all right. So let me say thank you now for those spiritual prayers that you sent during the Lent season. Now, in the first place, what were you trying to achieve? I mean, developing and writing such very spiritual and catchy words in those prayers. What do you intend to achieve?
Yeah, thank you that at least the message meant something to you. As a Catholic, a practitioner, every Lenten season comes with your own commitment and obligation. And why some fast for food, Some fast for several other things. It depends on your choice and what you think you want to use to communicate with God. And for me, this year, I said after fasting, outside fasting, away from food, I should do something that is different because one of my philosophies is that life is only lived when it's lived to the service of God and to the glory of men, to the service of men and the glory of God. And when you are able to translate, communicate what people feel, how they feel, and the reason why they should continue to hold on to life and hold on to faith and understand that life is not celebrated only at birth and at death. Every second of our life is worthy to be period from day one, which was Ash Wednesday, up until the Monday after Easter. I should be able to talk to people through what I write and make people understand what each day represents, that nobody goes through that journey alone. And after it, it is not just about the cross, it is about why you live and what you are living for. So thank you. A whole lot of people to order go back to me and said that it was a good feedback. The review had been very fantastic. Comments from people. In fact, close to the end of it, some priest friends and some bishops that I'm close to graces, and they asked, "Am I putting an end to it here?" But it would have been something if I could continue. And then it brings me to when I say I want to really give credit. Yeah, because this period I actually got to understand the burden that they go through in to the podium to give every time you find them standing to preach. It wasn't an easy journey because you get scared, you get worried, you get concerned that you've not drafted what you need to draft. You have to crack your brain, you have to go through the scriptures, run in and out of the scripture, look for testaments that relates to what you want to discuss. And before you script it, putting pen to paper and communicating it to people. So it's not easy for them. So these 40 days actually made me understand what they have been going through all these years. We find them on the podium all these years, we see them come to deliver sermon to us, what they go through, how they go burn candles at night, turn their lights on at night, deny themselves hours of sleep, have a mental thinking and mindset and preparation. So I thank God that it was a journey that people loved, and I've continued it after the Easter. And I said, beyond the cross. And now, so it's called the notepad. But this time going to be Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays prepares us into the week, and Thursdays begin to excuse us as we prepare for Sunday services.
All right, so I'll plead with you, Comrade Judy Magwe. Now, as the discussion goes on, now I know that the Catholic has words. You know, those days in school, in English language, you have a register. Register has to do with a particular discipline, some certain words that you use in particular discipline and all that. So in Catholic, we have words like conclave, papacy, and all that. So if there are ways you can help us break them down so that the ordinary man watching this program this afternoon who is not a Catholic, we understand as we get along on this show. All right, so we are talking about how and where the next pope is going to be coming from. Now, just as I was about telling you that the last pope we had, Pope Francis, who actually died on the 21st of April 2025. You know, Pope Francis, head of Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City, states from he was born in the year 2000 and so many years ago now, get that now, 1936, you know, and of course he stayed up to April 2025. Now, what we are looking at here, we are looking at a situation whereby in the next few days, as a matter of fact, we understand that on the 7th of May, that Papa conclave to elect Pope Francis' successor to begin on the 7th of May. Now, you will see that all these years and all this time, I mean, we've never had, apart from the last one we had, that was 1,500 years ago. During the course of the program, we're going to get that name. Now, we've really not had an African as the Pope of the Catholic Church. Now, has this been deliberate? Because some people say that it seems that there's some sort of racial discrimination in selecting who becomes the Pope in Catholic Church or in the Catholic life and all that. So what would you have to say about that?
Well, thank you, my brother. As much as I'm not an authority to discuss certain things as regards the Catholic faith, but as a serious practitioner, I should be able to discuss it to the extent to which I understand it. To start with, I think it is uncharitable for us to bring color, racial background, or continental display into the choice of who becomes the Pope of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church transcends beyond an institution. The Catholic Church is owned by Catholics and Catholics across the world. Yeah, in recent time past, we've had three African popes. I think that was within the second and the fifth century. We had Pope Victor and we had Pope Matilda. We've also had Pope Gelasius. Yeah, these are the three African popes we have had. And for whatever intent and purpose, I do not think the Catholic Church is into the selection or election of a pope has any political correlation or any ethnic color selection. It is what is spiritually being guided. And at all times, the choice of who emerges as the pope after the black smoke comes the white smoke. And after that white smoke is found, announced, a pope elect is announced to the Catholic faith that constitute over 140 billion people, the Pope assumes authority to begin to function. So there is no, yeah, we have had three, but I do not think there was any basis upon which a Pope is selected. The process of a Pope selection is spiritually guided and which are cardinals. They don't go there as persons. Yes, that human nature is there, but I tell you clearly, every one of them go there requesting God to direct them on the choices they make.
All right, so cardinals now are going to be selecting the next pope in the next couple of weeks. As a matter of fact, we understand that it starts on May 7th, 2025. Now, for some people, trying to make some permutations how it may maybe benefit an African, they are looking at the population that Africa seems to have a large population of Catholics in the black world. Now, the people that are going to be selecting the next pope now, they are humans, and whether we like it or not now, it is an election. Now, would you think that they may want to think along that line that, okay, since Africa has a very large population, let's choose an African then?
If we begin to have that kind of conversation, it means we are beginning to politicize the Catholic Church. And that's the Catholic Church will not get into. Now, for clarity, the Catholic Church constitutes about 1.4 billion people. And of these 1.4 billion people, statistics shows that 281 million Catholics are of African origin. That is 20% of the population. After some years back, it was 272. But between the ratio of 2022 to 2025, I think there has been 3.31% rise in the African continent of faiths, people that have grown into the Catholic faith for practice. That again is a huge figure. Now 20 of 100 is 80 away from 20. But that again does not suggest that it is what the church looks at. The church looks at who provides leadership. The church looks at who becomes the papa, the face of the Catholic faith. The church looks at who drives what the Catholic Church represents. The church looks at what future will the Catholic hold in the hands of a pope. And now, before we even go into discuss our pope, Papa that died, His Holiness, had left some kind of significant legacy that the next pope that will be coming in, I know God will give that pope the same grace that He had given to Pope Francis, because when Pope John Paul had left, we had Pope Benedict XVI between 2013. And people had seen Pope Benedict XVI as somebody that was going to do something different, but for third stage and for the first time in the history of the Catholic faith, the Pope resigned, and we then had Pope Francis. Pope Francis came with something that is different and unique. He was an extraordinary, simplified person as a pope. He reduced himself to an ordinary member of the community, not just only the church. He denied himself of so many things that were tied to the office of the pope. He remained as a person, and that is significant. He had one unparalleled commitment of love and empathy for the poor, and his concern about global peace is strong. So these are qualities and legacies that we outlive himself. And you see, he was not, he made clear from beginning that he didn't want to be buried in Vatican, and but a church very close to the Vatican. And so that people, what were his reasons? So that there are protocols, restriction, that he doesn't want his body to be hidden from people. And there are protocol restrictions that denied almost every person access into such places. But where he is today, resting, is a place where you visit, you can go there to pray in that chapel. And I'm telling you, a lot of wonders will come out from it in the months and in the days ahead. But to go back to where we are now, in the preparation of a pope, the Papa's conclave is opened. And when that Papa's conclave is opened, I think it was coined from a Latin word, that is conclave, which meaning key. And because it is where the cardinals are locked away from, they are locked away from everybody, from everything that has to do with society, from everything. And within this period, a new pope is chosen. Not until a new pope is chosen, that door is not open. And it's a period where they make commitment. They go into the Catholic oath of faith that everything that happens there remains there. And so it therefore means, my brother, it is not something that is to be influenced by external uh, factors. It is something that the direction, as just as Jesus appeared before his disciples after resurrection in an upper room where they were locked in. This is the same way they have been locked in. God in heaven, through the divinity of the Trinity, will direct the papas who will become the Pope of the Catholic Church, and an election will be made when the time is right.
That we are talking about now. Cardinals are human beings. Let us get that, first and foremost. They are human beings, despite the fact that they are going to be taken away for some time so that they can choose the next pope. They are human beings. But again, let us look at some of the things that Pope Francis actually stood for. Now, remember the issue with the LGBT. We understand that he gave a directive that LGBT, those that believe so much in LGBT, that their marriage can be blessed. And of course, that seems to have give rise to some reactions and counter reactions. Now, bringing it to our discussion this afternoon, whether the next pope will come from Africa. Now, the issue with the LGBT is something that Africa as a continent, we don't go there. It's a no-no for us. I mean, as Africans, we don't believe in homosexuality, and it is largely not practiced here. So if we are trying to say that the next person that may probably succeed Pope Francis may have to also key into his mindset, some of the things that he believed in. Now, that presupposes that an African, because we don't see the possibility of an African being a pope and also trying to continue with the mindset that people that tend to live with the LGBT, they can be blessed, even at marriage. So it means that the possibility of an African becoming a pope may not be there.
No, I don't think you are totally right with the references you have made. Yeah, the first thing first, you said they are humans. Yeah, our Catholic priests are humans, but they are extraordinary humans. So before you go to our bishops, cardinals, and our pope, these are people that have been separated. So they are not just humans as myself and you are. Yes, they may have the resemblance of our human nature, blood. They commune with God I will speak directly about the priest in the Catholic Church. I am a Catholic not just by practice, but by faith. So I'm a practitioner by faith. By all intent and purpose, my veins and my bloods in me are Catholic by nature. Now, you see, they are extraordinary humans. And so I find it relatively very difficult to think that any of our Catholic priests, not to talk about a pope, a bishop or a cardinal, will get to that level and allow himself to be manipulated by color. That will not happen. That cannot happen, and that will never happen in the Catholic faith. Take that to the bank, and you will not be denied what you want to cash. Then the second aspect of it is the fact where you mentioned about the see a lot of things were either misrepresented about the statement the Pope made. Now, this Pope did not say he was given an outright stamp, rubber stamp, legitimate stamp on the LGBT. What the Pope said was clear. He said that he was not elected as a Pope to be a judge over any mankind. He was not to judge any man's crime because he cannot arrogate it to himself that power to judge, to condemn whether this man will go to heaven or go to hell. Because even the parameters upon which God is going to judge us is not known to men today. What the Pope said is, if they have this thing that they believe in, the church cannot condemn it, but rather ours, we that don't believe in it, our reflection, our behavior, our societal obedience to the things we believe in should be that can convince them away from what they believe. Come on, my brother, you don't convert a sinner by locking the sinner out of the house. You don't convert a sinner by killing the sinner. When you've killed the sinner, you have killed the sinner, you have not converted the sinner. What the Pope meant was that Catholics, by faith and by practice, owe it as a duty through our daily lifestyle should be evident and reflective of how we behave. So those that think otherwise, outside the doctrines that God had given for recreation and creation, man and woman, we begin to have a reason to see a reflection on why man and woman should be, and not man and man or woman and woman. Because he says sometimes too in the society, some man and man are even very better in conduct than even the man and woman. Some woman and woman are sometimes even well behavioral in practice than even the woman to man. So, but we should not judge. If we want them to change through our lifestyle, through our practice, through our conduct, we should do that, but not to judge them or condemn them. It's simplified. It's as simple as ABC. So that again does not suggest where the Pope is going to be coming from. Because, see, my brother, the Catholic Church is an institution. Now, you see, after the mourning period, we have laid down rules. It's not a church that one person goes into the room and comes out to say, I own the church. And at the end of the day, there are crises or the exit of the Catholic Church has laid down rules. Now, after the mourning period, the conclave begins. What does the conclave do? The conclave usually, from my own findings, is that it accommodates from the age under 80 of age, which currently they will have about 120 persons in number that will be going through. Then it starts in Vatican City, after which there is a voting process. The voting process is usually by secret ballot, and that is why I say whatever happens in the conclave remains in there. And whoever is elected must score two-thirds majority, so it is still counted. So these things are things that has spiritual guidance. The black smoke comes up to announce that the voting process has started. They started the search of a new pope. The white smoke comes out when the pope is finally elected. And so immediately that an acceptance and the name of who the pope is, choices is announced to the Nigerians, to the global Catholic community, 1.4 billion people, through the cardinal that is asked to do that. So then the pope accepts his election. And when he accepts that, another pope emerges and the Catholic leadership begins to. So we are not looking at colors. We are not looking at region. We are not looking at numerical strength. We are looking at who God will give to the Catholic faith, pilot the affairs of the Catholic faith. See, people that had never come together before came together. This is one pope that he broke ground. See, we call it one pope who broke so many protocols. You see how he went to the Arabic communities. This had never happened before. And you see, when the president of Ukraine, each time, what about Palestine? They said every day the Pope made it a point of duty. Every day the Catholic community in Palestine, he calls them to ask them how they are faring. A Pope, how they are faring. The same way he reached out to Ukraine, the Catholic community, how are these people faring in this difficult situation? And so these are some of the qualities that we are looking at for. These are what we should be expecting. What are the legacies? What are the driving line in the Pope? It's not what color the Pope is going to be coming up with. It's not what part of the world the Pope is coming from. The Pope is a Pope. And immediately he's elected today as a Pope. He's not white, he's not black, he's not from Africa, he's not from Asia, he's not from Europe. He's a Pope of the Roman Catholic Church.
So we quickly take a short pause now. Don't forget, viewers out there, that the program is still African Discourse, and our special focus this afternoon is looking at the death of Pope Francis that just occurred only last week here. And we're also looking at where the next Pope will emerge from, whether an African stands a chance to become the next Pope of the Catholic church, so to say. All right, so we'll take a short pause now. When we return on the other side of this break, we're going to be looking at the candidates as it stands now. Various candidates that stand the opportunity of succeeding Pope Francis as the cardinals are going to be going, voting in the next few weeks. We'll take a short pause. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. All right, thank you. So to know that you are still there, the program is still here on independent television, and we're still looking at the possibility of an African being the next Pope. How possible may that be? And we still have Comrade Jude Emagwe, who is joining us virtually from Abuja this afternoon. Now, Comrade, we understand that since the death of Pope Francis now, lots of things have been going on, like you have rightly said, and we understand that a total of 135 cardinals under the age of 30 are going to begin their conclave on May 7th to hold a secretive election for the next pontiff. Every papal conclave comes down in some sense to referendum on the papacy that has just been ended. And we're also let's quickly see some of the candidates now that stands who will succeed Pope Francis. The first one, we have Cardinal Peter Erdo, Bishop of Budapest, Hungary, and we're told that he's only 72 years of age, and he is the highest ranking Catholic Catholic leader in a country that is 80% Christian. And also the next one we have let's see now, we have Cardinal Fridolin Bongo, and he is the Archbishop of Kinshasa. This is where the attention comes now. Kinshasa, we know, is in the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's in Africa. Now, for Cardinal Fridolin Bango, who is the Archbishop of Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo, yes, we are told that the president of the Symposium of Episcopal Conferences of Africa, and of course in Madagascar, a new global attention for leading African bishops in unanimous rejection of fiducia supplicans, and of course a declaration that the Vatican issued on 2023 that included guidelines on the blessings of Pope in same-sex relationship. Now, Comrade Jude Emagwe, now what this simply is saying is that we have Cardinal Fridolin Ambogo, that's the Archbishop of Kinshasa now, who is from the DRC. Now, he was one of those that spoke against same-sex, a blessing of same-sex marriage that Pope Francis, somehow he said that somehow he allowed. Now, you can see how we try to look at it, that who comes in now to be the next Pope. If he continues from where Pope Francis stops, then it means that he may want to continue with maybe allowing the blessing of same-sex marriage. But if he doesn't, it means that we may have another Pope entirely who believes entirely, in another thing. But what we're saying is that the possibility of an African, that's this Kinshasa man now, Pope, being a so slim. So what would you have to say about that?
if I join you in agreeing with this possibility of an Africa, it becomes believe that I'm also a racial practitioner. I've told you and I maintain my stance clearly without any contradiction. The Catholic Church is not a racial church. We don't look at colors, we don't look at skins, we don't look at your continental background. We look at whom God has directed to lead the affairs of the Catholic Church. And it's not also ethical to hold on to just one thing about Pope Francis as what should be the reason for whom the next emergence of the Pope, resemblance of what it should be. Pope Francis did more than just about the LGBT policy. And there are a whole lot of things he did that the LGBT was just even 0.001% compared to his presence as the head of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. And so, therefore, anybody that is elected tomorrow, anybody that is elected the day after tomorrow, anybody that is elected upon the day that we will now have that announcement of Habamus Pama, that means that we have a pope, then that is when we can now begin to know what direction the pope will be giving to us. And it's not the direction the Pope himself gives to us, it's the direction that the Lord will lead him to lead the Holy Catholic Church. It will be a thing of joy. Yes, I think we have Pope Francis as the first Argentina to be a Pope of the Catholic Church. So it would be a thing of joy to tomorrow we go to sleep, and when we are coming up to sleep the next day, we hear that the Pope that is of African origin is elected. But for us as Catholics, we will not look at whether it's of African origin because it's actually very inconsequential to the Catholic faith. A pope is a pope. We don't know, if only but a few persons will actually know whether this Pope Francis is an Argentinian. And you found out he never went back to Argentina after he was elected a pope. And he said he always made promise that he will. He will look out for time to go because he said his schedules are tight. The Pope of the Catholic Church from morning till night is always having things to do. And that is why I tell young folks that the Catholic Church is a church that from Monday to Monday have something that engages you. The Catholic Church is not a church where you think that our services are just on Sundays and it ends. No, we have daily masses every day. We have parishes that have morning mass, parishes that have midday mass, parishes that have evening masses every day. So at every time in the Catholic Church, there is something that reconciles you to God. If you don't go to church for mass, you go to church where we have sacred places where people pray. So there is nothing that will suggest that if we go to these places, why have you not asked, why is it that we have not turned all the statues in Africa? We should have also painted all our statues in Africa black so that we know that we want to start looking at. No, that is not what the Catholic Church is. The Catholic Church is a church that we believe we are Catholics. And we believe that whomever God have chosen to lead the Catholic Church, to provide that leadership as His holiness. You hear how we call him, not Papa. His holiness, not Daddy Gio. It's His holiness. His holiness means there is something that separates him away from people. If you see our Pope, you will see a reflection of Christ in him. If you look at any of the Catholic popes, even when you look at them on the screen, you will see it. It is evident that these people are holy. His holiness. So God is going to give us another holiness. And it's not the color. It's not whether it's an African man. Whoever comes as a pope is a pope.
So as we continue to make, look at the possibility of an African now we understand that we have some cardinals from Nigeria. Francis Arinze is there, and of course he's over 80 years. Now I'm going to be asking a question around Francis Arinze now. We also have Anthony Olubumi Okoje, then we also have Peter Ebere Obeleke, then John Cardinal Olorunfemi Onaiko, and all that. Now those that any person that will emerge is expected to be on the 80 years, and that gives the possibility of Cardinal Arinze not being there now. But let us look at the duty of a pope. It comes with so much expectancy and all that. Some people say, trying to put the age thing there, it somehow it should be looked into. I mean, looking at the experience that the pope ought to have. So don't you think that this age limit is also something that we need to look at as the cardinals are going to be, choosing the next pope?
Yeah, the church in their own wisdom would have had reason upon which they arrived at under 80. And I call myself one of those in the privileged generation who have now witnessed the three popes and waiting for the fourth pope. There are people that only knew only Pope John Paul. But I have come and I met Pope John Paul he even visited Nigeria on two occasions. I know Pope Benedict XVI, and we know Pope Francis. So a pope will come within the next day. So I will be privileged to at least know four popes. I'm believing that God again will grant the next pope longevity. Now, you mentioned clearly that there are enormous responsibilities that are tied on the shoulders of the pope, a man that controls. I call him the president of all presidents. And you saw the number of dignitaries that were present in the farewell journey of His Holiness. It showed that this is what the Catholic Church represents. It's a global institution that drags the attention of everybody. And yes, if you look at under 80, I'm believing that God again will give additional 30 years to 110 or 20 to 100. So a pope that serves, say you elect a pope at 75 and serves for 25 years, you imagine the impact that the pope too would have created. Than to say, okay, you are looking at, so something would have informed the decision upon which they arrived at under 80. And I think it is not for me as a Catholic practitioner or for myself and you to sit on the studio to interrogate why they arrived at. So whatever may have led to the wisdom upon which had led them to that decision, we believe that it is the grace of God that has directed them to come up with that position.
Now, what would you say about what seems to also bother even the Catholics? Because over time, like you said, this Pope now, I think I'm also going to be fortunate to be experiencing the fourth Pope, Pope John, the first Pope John Paul. I also saw him and the other popes. Now, for the health of the Catholic popes now, it seems to be there has been a kind of a trajectory, a nature that we don't look at about the Pope, their health. Oftentimes we hear that the Pope has one illness or the other. What do you think is going on? Don't you think the Catholic Church also needs to look at the possibility of really ascertaining the head status of who becomes the Pope?
When you say ascertaining somebody's health status, there was never a time that Pope Francis never said he was. But if you follow his last hours, the last period, they say he was a pope that beared the pains he was going through just to serve humanity and to the glory of God. If you go into taking people's health status, then you are now beginning to trivialize things, because the healed health of a man sometimes is not man's making. It's God that creates us, and God knows how He has created us and how He wants us to live. And for some reasons, all you just need to look at.
We're looking at the sensitivity of the office and the sensitivity of the position as the Pope of the Catholic Church. That's what we're looking at.
You are looking about the sensitivity of an office if it is myself and you that will choose it. But I'm telling you that even those that will be, the cardinals that will be electing a pope, will not be electing a pope in their own human wisdom. God will direct them. So if God directs anybody to be a pope, God will grant that pope elect, the grace by health and by strength to lead the Catholic Church. So we cannot sit down and say, okay, let's begin to x-ray the health status of every person that wants to become pope. No, come on. We are beginning to trivialize what the Catholic faith stands for. No, we won't do that. And the Catholic Church will...
All right, so we quickly take another short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. All right, thank you one more time. So as we draw the curtain on this program this afternoon, we still have Comrade Jude Magwe. Now, Comrade Jude Magwe, as we commence our descent now, so let's look at it all one more time. You have largely said, extensively said that a pope is a pope. It doesn't matter which continent it's from and all that. But again, let's look at the lessons that we should be learning, or that other denominations, so to say, other Christian denominations, the things they should take out from this whole story of who becomes the Pope in the Catholic Church?
I would say clearly that first, the thing that makes the Catholic Church different from other churches is not that they're not Christians, they're Christians, but the Catholic Church is not owned by anybody. You will not hear that this man owns, this is the founder of the Catholic Church and he owns it. No. That is one. On the second leg of it is what has the institution represented. From the Pope, you take his empathy and his love. You will never hear that this Pope has houses here, has this business here, has the other business here, building this one here, building that, or building schools that people pay school fees to go to, or building things that parishioners or church members begin to struggle to have their wards attend. This Pope never had it. The Catholic Church is a church where a priest comes in, whatever he meets in the parish, he uses it upon transfer. He moves just the same way outside his mass bus, goes alongside with his mass bus to the next parish. That is the Catholic of old that I grew into. As you come in as a priest, you are assigned a parish house, you live in there, because the life is a selfless life. It's a life of service. I think that is one of the key words, a life of service. A life where you don't go and pay a priest to come pray for you. You don't have to go and pay a priest to come do X, Y, Z for you. It's structured. The office hours of a parish is always known to parishioners. The church is the church for Catholics and for non-Catholics that feel that they can come into those places as place of worship and prayers. That is the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is open to all, open to embrace all. When you see the priest, you see a resemblance of what Christ had preached. These are my people, let them follow me. When you see the Pope, you see the Pope of His Holiness, you see how he does things, our intervention. These are clear, and it's evident that the Catholic Church remains an institution that, yes, other churches can look at, borrow what they feel they can borrow from it. We are all Christians, all at the end of the day, is what is the race. Our goal is on that last day, that hour, because we should all be prepared for that hour. The hour must come. When that hour comes, where do we go to?
Yeah, all right. So this is where we draw the curtain today. So we want to say a very big thank you to Comrade Jude Magwe, joining us virtually all the way from Abuja. And just like what we said, that a total of 135 cardinals are going to be in an enclosed enclave, the way Comrade Jude Magwe said it now, from May 7th to choose enclosed.
It's called.
You say what?
It is called conclave.
Conclave. All right. Okay. Not the English. All right. All right, Comrade Jude.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. So
conclave.
Conclave. Yes. Thank you so much. So, all right. So that's going to be from on the 7th of May. This May. That's about a few. About next week, to be precise, where they are going to be choosing the next Pope of the Catholic Church. And amongst the cardinals that stands the chance is the man from Kinshasa. He's 65 years of age, Cardinal Fridolin Ambongo, as the Archbishop of Kinshasa, Republic of Congo. He's an African. So we'll just see how the next Pope will emerge, and we pray that God Almighty will lead the cardinals so as to make the right choice. All right, so this is where we draw the curtain. So until same time on the same program, African Discourse on Independent Television, my name is Evans Unokogie. Goodbye and God bless you.